all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of
If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear.
Make America great again.
The Big Mig.
All right, well, welcome back to the Big Mig Show. Of course, I'm your host, Lance Miliaccio, with my co-host, George Ballantine. It's Friday. Sexy mofo. Yeah, there he is, man, in all his glory. The George B. And, of course, what's it all about? Kill him with the truth, bury him with a smile. It's a truth teller show. Dr. Mike Schwartz will be joining us. It's going to be a big one today. We're going to be doing this occasionally. What?
Whoa.
What do you got?
It's Dr. Mike Schwartzeroni on this show.
Oh, that's right. It's Dr. Mike Schwartzeroni. I forgot that. That's right.
I know.
Okay.
It's all right. That's why I'm here to remind your ass.
I'm letting him in now.
No,
Here he is. Of course, if you love the show, you guys know the drill. Thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe. You do the paid subscription, fantastic. It's $5 enough. It's a great way to say thank you. I want to thank a lot of people for becoming subscribers this week. We had a burst of subscribers. We had some people gifting subscriptions. Thank you so much for doing that. It's a big deal to us when you guys give us your vote of confidence. Because sometimes we're in a vacuum, right? We're talking and we're doing our shows, and we're hoping you guys love what's going on. So listen, get in there, load up those comments today on Rumble. Hit those replies, get in the chat, have some fun. It's the beginning of the weekend, and you know how we do it on this show. We got to get in there. So do all of the above. And, if you can throw us a Rumble Rant tip along the way, sure. A little snack money for us, whatever you can do. It's always greatly appreciated. Don't forget, we also have the Rumble crypto wallet connected. And if you love Rumble, you know how to support them. You can do Rumble Premium. You can do Rumble Premium with Perplexity. Any of those things. The guys over at Rumble are doing a great job. We appreciate everything they do for this show at Rumble and locals. So, give them some support. Financial support is important for everybody there. Everybody's trying to make money, and it's a tough economy, but if we all chip in a little bit, it makes a big deal for all of us. All right, listen, if you'd like to sponsor the show, you can hit us up at info@thebigmig.com. Hopefully you caught the Crypto Power Hour this morning, the DeFi Revolution. It was a banger, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard. We're still the number one show on Rumble, a crypto show on Rumble based on views, so we're pretty happy, very excited about that. So listen, gold and silver. Yeah, we got a lot of uncertainty, that's for sure. And you definitely want to have a solution just in case. What's this? The 62.2 gram prepper bar, perforated, easily broken down into your choice of 3 separate denominations. You can see as I tilt that bar. It's great. It's pre-perforated. You can snap off a small piece. Of course, what does it do? It fits a multitude of needs. And the prepper bars are really your perfect escape. These are real tangible forms of wealth. Gold and silver, you can hold, trade, and trust. They come with an assay report. No government can seize it. No hacker can steal it. Of course, time is always ticking. They've got them in stock, but you never know what's going to happen in this economy. You never know what will really happen to the U.S. dollar. You hope that Donald Trump will fix it, but right now we're still $40 trillion in debt and counting. Need to act now to secure your prepper bars before the government rolls out their next move. And right now, use code PREPPER. That's all caps, PRE, PPR, PRE, PPR. That's going to get you 10% off on the silver, 5% off on the gold. A hell of a discount. Don't wait until your money's worthless. Grab your prepper bars before it's too late at thebigmigbar.com, or you can call 888-526-7154, 888-526-7154. Don't forget to tell them the Big Mig Show sent you, or take a QR code snapshot. Take it with you. Save it till after the show. BigMigBar.com.
Break me off a piece of that prepper bar.
All right.
Hold on.
Go
I gotta say a couple things. God bless you, cat lover. Let me see. We got a couple new people in here. Where are they? 370Z is for fun. Well, the Big Mig Show is for fun too, buddy. Or honey, wherever you are. There's another one. MK Hart, rolling into a new show. We appreciate you. Glad you're here. Welcome. US Abby girl. What's up, girl? How you doing? Jess Heat, always bringing the truth and the heat. What up, Jess? I don't know about this name. Cocktail. Okay, Cocktail. That's your name. We're going with it. All right, let's go.
All right. We're joined by Dr. Mike Schwartzeroni. As you know, on this show, he gets the extra vowel at the end. We got to keep it real. Dr. Mike Schwartz in the house. Doesn't have to rate us because he's here. Hopefully he liked the thumbnail. I had to struggle with that. The AI was not happy with some of the stuff I was doing. I kept going back and forth.
I'm blowing shit up. I'm pulling the grenade.
That's it. You got the, George, and it's funny what AI will do. One point it was screwing up George's hair, and I had to battle with it.
God, not the hair.
Screw up anybody's hair. It should be mine. For some reason, AI loved Schwartzeroni though. He loved Mike, and right away kicked that out.
Fucking Mike, of course he does.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if he's paying AI to make sure he's got that good persona. Let's get him in here. He's backstage.
I think it's Kelly paying because she wants him to look good. Hey, welcome once again to the Big Mig Show. Our brother from another mother, but the same father, Dr. Mike Schwartzeroni. He's from the Mike Schwartz Show, so make sure you do give that man a follow on the show and support him too. He's our brother.
That's it.
What's up, bro?
My hair looks good.
But what's up, bro?
Lance, I want to know why you look so young, and George and I don't look as young as you. That's what I'm.
Photo?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I struggled with that. I didn't want it to be. Part of the problem is it's the source images. I don't, Mike, it's an odd thing. I don't take a lot of photos intentionally. It's kind
Lance's face is a lot thinner too, huh?
Yeah.
Looks like he's 20 in that picture.
Yeah. I look like a 20-year-old, But, it's funny. I gave myself a status there. You can tell I'm a full bird colonel.
You know what? You know what, Mike? I'm going to go I'm going to log into the X account on the Big Mig Show. I'm going to look at what prompts he put in there. See if he's fucking...
Yeah, exactly. Make me look like I'm 20. It's funny. I did used to look like that. That's
there we go.
Age, of course. No, but I did actually look like that. But
we all did, bro.
I have a hand. First of all, I tell you, I struggle with George too because I'm laughing now because it's funny. Some of the stuff I was battling with last night. It was late when I did this. I got to our thumbnail too late, and I was sitting there. But it's funny, Mike, it kicks you out. The minute I said, give him an M1 Garand, it had you holding it right. I said, put him chomping on a cigar. It was like instant. You were the only one that was easy last night. Everything else was a pain in the ass. But you know what it is? A lot of it's got to do with the source images. If you don't have good source images, and I still have some ticks from back when I was a contractor, I didn't take a lot of images for a lot of different reasons, of course. And, so I don't have a lot of recent high res stuff. I was just telling George we need to get together at some point and, hire a photographer and do a bunch of stuff. I know you've had a bunch of professional images done, Mike, and that makes it easier. When I grab an image and it's high res, AI is much happier with it.
Yeah, we got a social media person, which has helped us tremendously just to kind of get everything organized because, it's hard, in this social media world, trying to get everything out and get seen. And then you get all the flags. I got something I put up. I played a dumb clip the other day about, it was Celebrity Jeopardy. I don't know if you saw it. It had Donald Trump. It had Alex Jones and JD Vance. And I played that and AI thought that clip was amazing. So it cut 40 clips of that. And my social media person decided to post it, but they were saying words in it that aren't appropriate for TikTok or Facebook or YouTube. And then of course, she put those up thinking they were trending clips, and I got flagged right away. So you gotta be careful. You got to play the game. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's difficult. We should have a more in-depth conversation. I've been doing a lot of stuff with AI, and
Hey, Lance, I have a question because there's some questions in the chat. Saying that does not look like Lance. What picture of Lance did you give him? Did you give him a picture of Lance from back when you were younger, bro, or what?
No,
Come on, bro.
No,
I'm going to the account now. I'm going to check.
It did, and that was the struggle. I actually gave it the one from the 560 KLZ when I was doing the 560 KLZ radio show, and the translation was this. And I went back and forth, and then I gave it a different image of you and I. I actually used the one from Mar-a-Lago that we took together and cut you out of it. Right, I moved it over and gave it that one. It was really a pain in the ass, and it kept putting the wrong gun in my hand. I wanted the Stick magazine classic World War II Tommy gun, and it gave me the Chicago gangster drum, and then and if you really look at that, it's not really an accurate rendition. I used an image of the Tommy gun, a real one from World War II, but It's like that. It still struggles. It doesn't always want to do what you want it to do. I wanted to create the
I'm
image
looking
that-
at the pictures right now and your prompts, bro. I don't know. It's
No,
just-
but listen to me. You're not following what happened. Those prompts aren't even all current because when you put the new prompt in, I don't always just run it down. The previous one, when you put it in again and again and again, it deletes it. Take a look where it says about you, fit, this, that, and and it was struggling with that. I don't know why, but anyway.
It's
I don't
all on
know.
how you make the prompts,
It's got
Mike.
its
You
own-
know
it's got
that.
its own opinion
I know.
sometimes. It's got its own opinion, but anyway.
I don't do a
but-
thumbnail. I do the same thumbnail every show because I'm
No, I
I'm
saw
not
that.
lazy. I'm just busy doing everything else, and I like that consistent. Actually stole that from Jimmy Dore because when people were telling me, "Oh, you got to do," I go, "Why?" I'd rather have people kind of recognize it over and over rather than
I'll
seeing
be
something
honest with
different.
you. I think that there is an argument for that. We have fun doing it. George and I like to do these thumbnails, but there is an argument for just sticking with the same thing over and over and over again. The question is, it's kind of like we did the crypto show today. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail from that, with DeFi Revolution, and I was thinking to myself, well, that one really stood out. But it's if you got guests, I like to put the guests in. We don't overplay George and myself. I think I put George in more thumbnails than I put myself in. He was an astronaut a couple of months ago. He was working for NASA. So at the end of the day, a couple of weeks ago. So it is what it is. I don't know. Mike. Honest to God, if we knew it worked for all of us and for the audience, the struggle is real on the other end of this. We're always analyzing the shows and our content and what we did right and what we didn't do right. We're probably our worst critics. Even when you guys see us screw the pooch, make a mistake, say the wrong thing.
Lance, did you just say you put me more in thumbnails than you?
Yeah. Not that you're in thumbnails.
Hold on.
Let me look.
Hold on. No. You don't have to look. I got the answer right now because this is tip of the spear, right? We tell the truth. Lance, you put your big head in thumbnails more than I'm in thumbnails, bro.
Oh, you mean the big head cartoon?
That's you.
Yeah, well.
Now it's
reason
you.
for
Well,
that.
see, guys? See,
Yeah,
Mike?
well, the big head cartoon
Mike,
is different.
Lance, just
that was
save
the
yourself.
original
Save yourself
stuff.
before you do more damage, bro.
No, but that's when we did. No, that was way. What's funny about the big head?
Lance,
That's why I
save
switched to
yourself, bro. Just go to the next.
No, but I meant the actual attempted George, real George. Anyway, but that's the deal. We're always going through this stuff, and I've got something, Mike. You and I should talk about. We should talk sometime if you have time over the weekend. I'm working on something kind of big, and I'll explain it to you. It might be something we can work on together.
Cool.
I'll take you through it. Anyway, I've been taking tons of Anthropic courses and all the rest of this stuff, trying to really figure out where this is all moving. I think if we get ahead of the curve, we might have a real opportunity.
Where's Kelly at?
She's right there. She's in the chat. Kelly Schwartz 92179. That's Kelly.
Yo, you couldn't come up with a better name than that, Kelly? Schwartz 19.
I know. Don't get me
Don't
started.
say what? I'm saying it, not you. Well, I'm not married to her. I can say whatever, bro. I'm not going to be the one sleeping on the couch. It's you. By the way,
You're not gonna lick her face. I was just talking about that.
by the
on
way,
my show.
how's the honeymoon? How's the plans for the honeymoon?
Good. We're going to we're going to Tampa next month for a
No,
couple
you said that
nights.
last time on the show. You didn't do
Then,
nothing better. Forget it.
Savannah, and then we're going to Boston. So all part of the honeymoon. That's all part of
Yeah,
it.
it's a big honeymoon. It's the honeymoon country tour.
Here we go.
All right.
Here's Kelly. I don't know shit about Rumble. Well, Kelly,
Yeah.
you're an intelligent woman.
Kelly, join the club. I don't.
You
think
write
any of us
fucking
know shit about
prescriptions.
anything.
I mean, you can't figure out how to change your name.
That's true.
Oh,
She's bad at
God.
math. She was trying to
Math
put her
is
password
racist.
in.
Math is racist.
She told me she was trying to type in a password, and she got
You
a
believe
screen
that?
name out of it. So
You believe
No.
that?
no, not at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
Because she's smart, right? I mean, she writes freaking prescriptions.
She's very smart.
All right,
Everybody's
then.
got. Kelly's like, if you want to get cured, if you want good medical advice, go to Kelly. She will. She's a detective that will figure it out. If you need math done, go elsewhere.
She goes, I need help. All right, Kelly. You know what? If your husband ain't gonna help you fix the name, I'll help you.
all right.
Hmm.
All right. Well, we probably want to do some news and some stuff, don't we?
Why?
All right, let's dig in. George, tell me about the old Dominion University shooter.
You know, isn't it, Mike, and both lands, isn't it ironic how all of a sudden now we have these Muslim terrorists coming out, bombing in New York, IEDs. Now we have Virginia, then we had Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah.
I don't know. Is this all like coming out just to justify this war with Iran? I don't know. I think so.
Well, I said, look, I said this morning on the show, I played all those stories. I said, you have these things happen all the time, but now, of course, because you have this war or this exercise with Iran, everybody wants to point and say, well, here it is. It's Iran. I mean, how many? Look, did you see what was going on in New York City with Mamdani sitting on the floor doing a Muslim prayer and everybody eating lunch the other day? And this is only 24 years after 9/11. I mean, our country is kind of ass backwards right now. Well, but all these. Go ahead, Jordan. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's funny you brought that up because, they always say they leave religion out of politics. Yeah, when it's Christians, that's when they want to leave it out. But when it's Muslims, it's okay now? Go ahead, Mike. I mean, that's what they're fucking saying.
Yeah, Kevin Cork, my friend from Fox News, I played a clip today because he wanted to mention something, and he was quoting something that was on the Will Kane show. He was on the Jesse Waters show, and at the end of the broadcast, he said, "Hey, I'm going to add something." And he goes, "All these people, when you look at who they are, this one was a naturalized citizen, this one was a naturalized citizen, this one was children of a nationalized citizen." And he said it on Fox News. He said, "You got to start to wonder who we're letting into this country." And I was like, "Bang!" He's one of the good guys. He thinks like us, so I love Kevin. He'll come out and say it even if it's not on the Chiron, but we all realize that, and the mainstream media doesn't come out. I played an ABC report on Old Dominion, and then I played a Fox report on Old Dominion, and you could see which one's spinning which way.
Yeah, the spin on it, we said it all throughout the Biden administration that there's no country that has an open border policy. They were complaining about this, complaining about that, and the administration was doing what they're, and at the root of it, we all know it was all about creating this massive ghost voter pool. They wanted to move these people all over the country. You couldn't keep track of them. And all of a sudden they would all vote for whoever they were going to try to install. That was going to be the plan. And you wouldn't know if Javier Rodriguez, who came in through the border, was even really Javier Rodriguez. Ben Berquam has a bag of IDs. It's got to be 140 or 50 deep of all these IDs from different countries. A lot of people think, oh, they're just coming in from South America. That was never true. We covered lots of content on our show, and lots of experts came on. But, that was the cover-up. That's the main thing. And the narrative control thing is going to only get worse because of AI. You start seeing how it's perpetuated. It starts, and I can never really claim who starts it, but when they control it and they don't want to admit that letting these people in was a really horrendous idea. And some of the awful stuff that they determined, even those Chinese labs, these labs they found in California and the one in Vegas, they found guns, they found a gun with a suppressor. These were not just people that had come into the country looking for a better life. They were installed here. The NFSC told us there were 8 different divisions of Chinese military people, not full divisions, but people from 8 different divisions of Chinese military that were in the country, probably staying at safe houses on these farm properties. It's just ridiculous. And I hate the fact, what I hate is that I really thought that this administration would work much more closely with alternate media. I thought you would get interviews, Mike. You'd have big interviews come on. And I thought we would too. And the worst part is when they came in, we had some good interviews lined up, some really good ones prior to the amendment. And then all of a sudden, Susie Wiles dropped the hammer. Mm-hmm. She has to approve every interview by everybody in the administration. And I think that's not really great. That makes sense. For me, I think that's one of the main issues, that they're continuing to not tell us the truth.
Well, they've isolated him for sure. I mean, everybody's talking about that. The access to Trump has been diminished, but that's where you're going with this. But, look, I get that part of it. I get why she's doing it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think, you got a pretty smart cabinet. You got a pretty smart administration. They can handle themselves for the most part. She doesn't want any kind of, irreverent things going out there into left field where people can latch onto it in the mainstream media. But, at the same time, it's like,
wait a minute.
MAGA base. What's that, George?
Wait a minute. You talking about Susan Wiles?
Right, Susie Wiles.
What about all the? You can't. No, because Trump's always reporters are coming up to him, no matter going to the plane everywhere, and he's always taking questions and answering them. Nah, she's just being sneaky ass bitch. She wants control of everything, man. No.
Of course she does. She's the chief of staff. I get it. I mean, my son works for a congressman. His chief of staff is probably one of the most powerful chiefs of staff in Washington. She's been there for 45 years, not in that specific role, but 30 some years as chief of staff. I mean, the chief really runs the office. Everybody knows that. You know, I get it. I get why she wants to control the narrative a little bit, because everybody's out to get him. You know, yeah, he's going to do the stuff at the, you know, at Marine One when he's outside on the South Lawn. But a lot of these folks, you know, in the cabinet, for her to want to control, I don't like it as a media person, as a journalist. I want to try to, you know, get information, but I purposely don't have a lot of interviews on my show. I know you guys have a lot more interviews than I do. We purposely don't bring anybody on the morning show. I just want to do the news and kind of move on. I'd rather do it with my chat. I learn more from my chat than I do from people I bring on, you know, for a stupid interview for an hour. So I kind of want to, you know, my finger to be on the pulse. And I feel like real people have a lot more information than some of these pundits who are out there just making it up as they go.
Yeah, I think that's valid. You know, we try to really vet the people we bring on the show, that they're going to bring some value to the audience and maybe do some more exposing of the truth, whether it's a medical expert or it's somebody else that has an expertise in some area. We had a great show the other day about, you know, geoengineering, chemtrails versus contrails, a guy that really knows what he's talking about. Frightening, really. But we do that because at the end of the day, I'm always concerned, you know, we get on the microphones and all of us, you know, you guys are very well read on your show, Mike. You really bring an authentic message, meaning that you've done the research. A lot of people roll into these shows and they pull something up on a screen and they start reading off the screen, and, you know, something they just picked up online. It's not always all that accurate, or they just sit there and they kind of, pontificate to the microphone without having the details. We've seen that over and over again. We try not to do that. We want our people to walk away, because the plan is always, we always talk about educating and unifying the country one episode at a time. That's supposed to be the plan.
I got a rule in my office, and every time I hire somebody, I tell them this: if you want to get to know me and get along with me at work, if I ask you a question, I tell them, and you give me erroneous information, because there's a lot of reasons you'd want to give somebody an answer, because you don't want to appear stupid, or you don't want to lose money or save face or whatever it is. But I tell my staff, as soon as you give me information that's erroneous, I'm going to question everything you ever say, and you don't want to be in that position with me. And I feel the same way with my audience. I try to just, be honest, be authentic. I tell my audience that sometimes the best words to say are the words I don't know, and move on, or get an expert who can answer those questions. I have a lot of experience in my life. I can talk about a lot of things, but I don't know everything. And, these people that want to have an opinion, especially on all these shows, there's a lot of Rumble hosts out there, YouTube hosts that do this just for clicks, just for attention. I don't know. Some of them have a following, because sometimes, look, Democrats pander to dumb people. So a lot of the times that you get the dumbest of the dumb following those type of people, like the AOCs and the Chuck Schumers of the world. But I don't want to have that kind of show where my audience is questioning everything I say.
Yeah, and we do the same thing. You know, often you'll hear us say, well, I don't really know if this is a fact. Here's the information. Or I don't know about lots of topics. You can't be an expert on everything. You know, they say to be a true expert, you have to have 10,000 hours in any specific category. We wouldn't have enough time to become experts across the board. So I think the most important thing is just giving accurate information. And if you make a mistake, go back and actually tell the audience, hey, I was wrong about this. But I think that's the difficulty. That isn't what mainstream media is about, right? It's about controlling the narrative. And of course, this isn't Ayn Rand. They're not following the policy of that, take accountability for your actions. They don't care. And I think it's an incredible disservice. I was hopeful when this admin came in that maybe they'd use some of the laws on the books at the FCC and they'd start yanking some licenses on people. It's probably too optimistic on my part. A lot of things I thought were going to happen haven't happened, and they don't appear to be happening. I think we're still struggling with the Epstein narrative and the dirty 51+8, the spies and Russian collusion hoax and Seth Rich laptop. I thought all that the onion would be peeled back. We'd get through the layers and we'd peel everything back, but that's not the case. But I think George, you made a pretty valid point. I think, you're right. All of a sudden there's a lot of news on these events, but I also think these events are, they're moving to the forefront. And there's more of them happening because the people that in this country that shouldn't be here, or the people that are being, groomed online by different terrorist organizations, I think that we're going to see more of this. I wish I could say this was not going to continue, but I think we all need situational awareness. When you're out and about and you're shopping, get your head out of your cell phone. Don't be distracted. Pay attention to your surroundings. If I was going to tell you and I was going to try to give you some training, I would say, just don't get self-absorbed. You know, leave the phone in the car. When I go to the grocery store, I don't take my phone in. I leave it in the car. I just put it on the floorboard, you know, so nobody can see it, because of course don't want to come out to somebody having broken into my car and it's gone. But I just don't do it. There's times when I literally make sure, and if I'm out in public, I am not thinking about talking on my phone. I think it's a major mistake. I mean, and you guys tell me if you disagree with that.
Wait a minute. We got a $2 rant or tip from Cat Lover.
Nice, thank you.
And it says, I'm going to read the quote, what she said. I'm just saying. This is verbatim, quote for quote, for sexy mofo George. Well, thank you.
Nice, George. Nice. Maybe
finally getting some recognition around here.
Maybe we need to do Chippendales. Here.
No,
maybe
we don't do that.
George, put him in a Chippendale.
Yeah, but George is $2. I mean, like I was for that.
It's better than no bucks, mofo. What'd you get? Huh?
I got nothing.
Okay, then you got ungats. So you don't get to say shit.
George is a sexy mofo. I would think at least
what?
a hundo in
Kelly?
There.
Oh, Kelly just sent $5.
Whoa, George raking it in.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, who wants to see George in a thong next show?
Oh,
no, we're not doing that, Lance. That's for private only. What? That's private.
Sometimes TNA. Listen, TNA works on these shows. Maybe we need to throw a little more TNA in here. You know. All right. What do you think, George? Let's play this clip on this.
Well, this is only like a 2-second clip. I'll play it with us. It's just. It's nothing big. I can't stand that fucking siren. But the thing of this story is, here you have a guy who, he's a naturalized U.S. citizen from Sierra Leone, right? He traveled multiple times attempting to join ISIS. He was convicted in federal court for trying to join ISIS. He's a former Army National Guardsman. He was arrested, 2016, for providing material support to ISIS. He did time, he gets out, and boom, now he's doing this. You know what I love about this story, though? Is the students subdued him and ended his life with their bare hands. Now, that's the way you freaking do it. Did you know that, Mike?
I did not.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wasn't paying attention to my stories this morning. I was working in between clips.
Bad Schwarzeroni. Bad.
Yeah. Well, you got to make a living, right?
Yeah, well,
you know,
yeah, I know.
I've been to Sierra Leone, and I spent some time in Freetown. I can't go into a lot of details of it, but I have to tell you, it's an incredibly dangerous place. The people that come out of there, I would have to say, should need some extra investigation in their background. And this is what's crazy about this guy. Traveled, multiple times attempting to join ISIS. And George, you're right. I mean, why was this guy released at all? And why was he left in the country, naturalized or otherwise? Why didn't they pull his citizenship? I mean, here's a guy trying to join a known terrorist organization. Mike, to me, I always talk about common sense. This just doesn't seem common sense to me. There's nothing common about this at all. This is dumb. I mean, they're holding J6ers for extended periods. A couple of them that got pardons are still being held. Mm-hmm. And they're going to let this guy back on the street? You guys, does this not seem crazy to you? Because it sure seems crazy to me.
Well, it seems crazy, but
evict him out of the country.
I mean, Lance, you have familiarity with law enforcement. I was a police officer for years. Sometimes things don't filter down to certain agencies. I remember when I was a cop and we would find people who were not here legally. We would have to report that up the chain, and then they would kind of figure out what they wanted to do with it. But once local law enforcement did the job and made the arrest, we were out of it. Whether they were released, we had no idea if they were back on the street. Everybody wants to blame somebody, and we rightfully so should. But I want to know, for me, I want to know where that process starts and ends. If you know somebody's on the radar and they've been arrested, if you have them and you run them and you figure all this stuff out, yeah, there has to be a process for getting rid of them, deporting them or jailing them or whatever that is. The release thing is what bothers me, but the folks that are here that are not in custody, that we have no idea, or if they're on the radar in this country, not in custody, they're just out and about. What is the process for then going after them to make sure that we can get them out of the country?
Well, this is a weird one because to me, they knew his conviction was in a federal court. It wasn't a state charge. So you would have to believe that they convicted him in federal court and he was released from federal prison. Wouldn't there have been a detainer on him of the fact that he's meeting or attempting to meet with ISIS? I don't know how successful he was in that operation. This just doesn't seem like, look, for me, decision's pretty easy. If you get convicted for communicating with ISIS, or if that's part of the conviction, or if that's part of your background search, the FBI, claims they're one of the best intelligence organizations in the world. I don't know how the one like this slips through the cracks because, again, a lot of detainers are put on people. Often somebody's being released from prison and there's a detainer from any other state. There's detainers from feds and they roll right over. I think this goes beyond reporting. I think this goes right down to sloppiness and stupidity. They're so focused on, and of course, I don't really trust the Department of Justice. I don't trust our agencies. I think there's a lot
Just say you don't trust the government, bro. We don't trust the government. That's all.
Yeah, well, there's some parts of
I want to play this clip, and I want you to hear this agent telling how they subdued the subject. Just listen to her, look her facial in moments. It's because it's funny. She didn't know what to do.
There were students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
So he was not shot.
He was not shot.
Why don't they just say they killed that motherfucker? I mean, I know they're on national news. They don't necessarily have to curse, but I mean, look at the way she's dancing around. They choked his ass out and killed him, just like they probably should have done. I don't know. Even dancing around the news like that, it just makes me uneasy because I'm just thinking of truth and thinking how important it is. All right, here's something that's right up your alley, Mike. How about this? Here's a surprise. Now, this is not a shocker to George. He talked about it the minute the story came out on Minneapolis. Cali Healthcare fraud exposed. Shocker. You mean there's fraud in California? I can't believe that. I'm totally surprised. With Newsom at the helm, a guy with a less than an 800 SAT score. I mean, wow. Shocked. Are you surprised, Mike? You seem shocked.
Come on.
Shocked and appalled, you seem.
Minneapolis, we all expected it, but we're all waiting for the big news to come out of California. That state's huge. It's been under Democratic control for a long time. You got a lot of nefarious actors there. They're a sanctuary state. You see the level of politicians they have, so you kind of know what's going to, brew out of there when you can uncover it. So yeah, I would expect a lot of information to be coming out of California. That last report, what did I say? Some couple $2 billion. One was it Medicaid or Medicare?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
we're talking about hundreds of billions when you go across the entire nation. But
sure.
This is unusual. George, I don't know if you got really how long you looked at this. They took some old Nevada doctor's name.
Maybe wait, he was still okay, but he was still practicing this.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if he was. I was thinking they grabbed some guy that was old, like maybe some retired guy, and said, "Oh yeah, he's got $600 million in claims." But you'd have to think. What's surprising to me is that these claims come in and, let's say this guy's business just ramped up colossal. I mean, I don't know about you with your business, Mike, but I'm sure you'd love to bill $600 million with 76,000 claims. Don't you think that, you're processing the claims, you're sitting there in Medicare or Medicaid and you go, oh, look at this guy. He processed 100,000 in claims last year, $1 million, whatever it was. And he's doing 600 million. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a red flag. I mean,
I don't know where the processes are to do that. We stopped taking insurance like 2 years ago because we just don't get paid the amount that we get paid from insurance. You have to churn and burn. So, for guys that's why when you go to the doctor's office, you get 7 minutes if you're lucky and there's 100 people in there and it's packed and you get no real health care because they have to do so much volume in order to make any money to operate the office. But when you see numbers like that, you would think that there would be mechanisms in place to trigger something, to say, wait, this just red alert, to flag it, just like they do at the bank when you put in a deposit. They flag that woman, that guard at Epstein's jail for the $5,000 deposit. $5,000 gets flagged, but 600 million or whatever doesn't get flagged.
I mean, Mike, I have to ask you, 76,000 claims means 76,000 visits, I assume. Am I right about that?
Okay. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
I guess there could be more than one claim on one visit. Is that correct?
Well, typically you're essentially right. I mean, at least for the most part, what we do in billing. Yeah.
I mean, how I mean, the way they pitched this, it was only the one doctor on these claims. I mean, to do 76,000 claims, I don't even over a 10-year period, is that even possible for a doctor?
I mean, do the math. You know, I mean, how many patients can you physically see yourself in one day? And don't get me wrong, sometimes you have NPs working for you, and you're gonna bill it because they're working under the doctor or the PA, and you're gonna bill it. So even if you have a full staff and you're billing under that NPI number, those other practitioners' NPI numbers should be attached. So you should be able to figure it out, because technically, I think NPs and PAs get 85% of what a doctor gets on the billing, which is stupid. But yeah, I mean, do the math on 76,000 visits. What is that math? 76,000 divided by 52 would be 1,461 per week. So even, what are you saying? That's over 10 years?
How'd you do that so fast?
I don't know, but
I have a calculator.
Okay, just checking.
But they don't even say it's over 10 years, but let's just use 10 years. Is that even possible?
Well, I mean, it'd be, it'd be divided by 10. Yeah, that's possible. It's 146 visits a week. So, I mean, that is possible over 10 years.
We don't even know if it was 10 years. But
what, this stuff?
Yeah, but it's hypothetical. It's just
you'd have to put it in a time frame, right?
And this is a time frame, so there's no. This is, even the doctor didn't even recognize that stuff. I mean, he didn't do it. He's saying he didn't do it. Must have been people at the office doing it. But if you let people use your name, you should be on top of it. It's crazy. Well, I don't know. Let's play the clip and look at it. Yeah. It's a 3-minute clip. So
tonight, senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse tells us about one provider who does not even live in the state and is responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars in billing.
I'm looking for Dr. Faustina. This is his address of record with the medical board.
He doesn't work here.
He doesn't work here. He is your medical director, however. Isn't that correct?
No.
He's not. No. Since when?
I don't know.
In December, New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney asked the Trump administration to investigate healthcare fraud in L.A.
The money's being sucked out of the system by these fraudsters.
Specifically, she asked how a single physician living out of state helped providers bill taxpayers for $600 million. Somehow, you are responsible for 29,000 patients. And here's the billing information. That physician, 87-year-old Gilbert Faustina. These home health care agencies, but they're using your number.
I don't know them.
Faustina lives in Las Vegas, but we met him at this apartment in Los Angeles.
I'm not seeing anybody now. Last month, I saw about 10 or 15 charts when I would visit, but that's one day a week.
Yet records suggest he filed 76,000 claims.
I don't do the billing. I've never billed Medicare for any of these patients.
How many charts and so forth can you go through to approve their care?
Oh, 15 or 20.
But these documents suggest that you're seeing thousands of...
Well, the document is wrong.
Federal documents show 335 providers billed Medicare $600 million over 5 years using Faustina's physician number. Yet he claims only to have contracted with 3 companies in this building.
At this address, I have millions of dollars of health care provided at this location at both Highlight and Aries. And on call, there's more than 900 patients, and $17 million has been billed out of this location.
It certainly sounds unseemly to me.
Dr. Ira Byock is a national expert.
They're all only serving a few patients, which keeps them at a level under the radar. This isn't a mistake. This is a strategy.
Records also link Faustina to 18 hospice providers.
I am not associated with any hospice.
And 3,000 claims.
I'm not associated with the claim at all. I've never seen the claim.
So what's going on?
Hospice in Suite 204.
We visited several hospices billing under Faustina's Medicare number. Many look more like mail drops than medical offices.
My name's William Lajeunesse, and I'm with Fox News.
We also spoke to one company that provides doctors and nurses to home health care agencies.
He used to be employed with us as one of our supervising doctors.
Days after receiving the Tenney letter, Medicare ended Faustina's ability to seek reimbursement, and this company cut ties.
We are not sure what happened as well.
You're not sure?
Clueless what happened.
If there is fraud, Faustina says he's not getting a cut. So you think somebody's probably committing fraud on your behalf?
Absolutely. Not on my behalf, on their behalf.
Neither Dr. Faustina nor any of the providers associated with using his Medicare number have been accused of unethical or illegal conduct. However, the U.S. Attorney is investigating home health and hospice in L.A. Brett?
That is an amazing story. Great.
LA is just, there's so much fraud in LA. LA is the biggest state of fraud. But Mike, I don't know, you said a comment. I forgot what it was. Something about, we're talking about California.
Well, I could add some context to that now. I mean, now that I've seen that report, I mean, he might actually be okay. That doctor, you know, and a lot of these places will hire somebody like that because they need a medical director, and they'll wind up getting paid like, you know, nothing, $1,000 a month or $500 a month or something like that, just to be the medical director. Where you technically, then you have all these other lower level or mid level people who are billing under your NPI number, because these places, like I said, a lot of them are churn and burn, especially when you look at like hospice, home healthcare, the assisted livings and stuff like that. You get an assisted living that happens around here. You get an assisted living where there's a doctor of record, and then you have all these other medical providers, and they have tons of patients, and they got to be seen, you know, if they're in-house, they got to be seen once a week or twice a week or whatever it is, how many, you know, depending on the facility. So you could have all these different claims for these different people. If you got a facility that has 200 people in it, you got 200 claims, times that by how many facilities the company owns. And if the doctor is the doctor of record for that facility, he's not getting paid on all those claims. The claims are just being done under his NPI number. So don't get me wrong, there's probably some fraud here, but it's probably not the doctor who's making the money on this. He's probably getting look at his apartment. He's probably getting a very low number just to oversee some of that stuff.
Yeah, there's somebody's using his information and billing, but that's like fraud. I mean, there's so much fraud in California.
Yeah,
Listen,
I mean,
in order for
it's crazy.
In order for
his number, and they just use it, right?
In order for California to truly go red, like get the real numbers of everything, you have to fix the voting system. And until then, that they're gonna keep that shit blue. Especially now with the gerrymandering. Look how many Republican seats are gonna be booted out now. They're gonna gain more blue seats. It's sickening. I mean, if you look at the true numbers of the last probably 2-3 elections, you probably go back further, but let's just go back to the last two. There's no way. When you looked at all the support for Trump, all the parades and everything that people are doing out there, you tell me he lost California? I don't believe that. But there's no such thing as election fraud.
It happens here. It happens. You know, you're in New Jersey.
No such thing as election fraud, Mike. That's what they say.
Yeah, right. Well, the one that pisses me off, George, is when they say, "Oh, it's a rounding error." Give me a break. It's a rounding error. Even if it's one, you know, it's fraudulent. You should want to fix it. I don't want to hear an excuse that it's a rounding error. And look at New Jersey. You had a governor win by 400,000 votes. And don't tell me, oh, well, people are mad at Trump. Give me a break. You had a candidate in New Jersey run from the basement, just like Biden did. It looked very reminiscent of 2020. So, you know, when you look at New Jersey and you figure out how these people are getting on the rolls, whether it's DMV, we have a plan, by the way. There's a couple people I'm working with, some state senators. I think I talked about it on your show before, and a couple county chair people. And we're working on a way to uncover that. But we've already hit resistance from some of the bluer counties don't want to give their voting records out. And that's public information. So we've FOIA requested that. We've Oprah requested that stuff. And we're having a lot of pushback getting the actual records so that we could audit them. But there's a lot of nefarious. You're right. My Hustusa in my chat always says, fix the vote. You know, he wants to vote via pre-registered smart device. I don't like that idea because it's electronic, and I don't know how you guys feel about that. But the SAVE Act, I mean, right now it doesn't look like this is gonna go anywhere right now. And it's the nuances that are in the bill. It's not the premise of getting people to vote who are just citizens. I think we all agree on that.
Well,
but there's some.
If you register a person to vote and maybe do some biometrics with it, so it has to match up, maybe that's something more to look into. I don't know, you know, who knows, but if you look at, but here's a big thing.
Blockchain technology.
Look what
that's exactly what he says.
Yeah, look what Florida just did. They just passed their own Save America Act. Did you know that? And it's gonna now they passed it. It's going to DeSantis' desk for signature. This bill fortifies citizenship verification for all voters and marks pen and paper as the default voting method. So they're making paper ballots the default voting method, and you have to have verification that you're a citizen. That's Florida.
All right. Well, great. Now that we have control, remember when he ran, the state was about 50-50. DeSantis has done a great job registering new Republicans, and he's done that, for a couple different reasons. The party's gotten himself in order, but he's also been a great governor for the last couple of years. So people, that state now, it's great that we have control, and maybe we could fix it now for the future, because I don't ever want to see that state go back to being purple like it used to be. But I mean, in states like New Jersey, like I said, I'm getting pushback from the elected officials. I'm getting pushback from the county officials, the clerks, of just giving us the information. What do you want to hide? If you think that the election was above board, and you think your person won fair and square, why are you hiding the voter data? We know there are people named Jose Ramirez who are on the voter records who don't really exist. We know that they voted. We know that they voted more often than not in some of these bluer counties than there are in the redder counties. And we can prove it by looking at the swing and doing a little detective work. But we're getting pushback right now on just getting the actual voting data.
Wait, did you put FOIA requests in for that data?
We did. And I'm not the one doing it. There's county chairs who are doing it, getting a lot of pushback.
And they're giving them pushback. So, because they want them to spend money, get a lawyer to go do it that way, just because they want to break people. Meanwhile, but it's our right to have it because it's freedom of information.
Right.
So there should be consequences to people that don't want to give it up. That's another thing. They want to stall this and that.
Who's going to enforce that, George? We're in a blue state.
That's
your governor doesn't care.
Exactly. No, I know.
That's the problem.
See, Florida. So Florida, you have a majority of Republicans in Congress and their state Senate there, so they can get shit done. But you can have a red state governor, but if you don't have the right people,
the legislator,
you're not going to get shit done. Just look at the United States of America. We got a great red president, but we got shit for Congress and Senate. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you have to look at this. When a government official weaponizes the system against you, whether it's ignoring your FOIA requests, whether they're trying to create additional costs, hoping that they can, weaken your resolve. And look at this. There was the GOP. You know about Nessel.
Here's another one, right?
Yeah, Attorney General Nessel in Michigan falsely accused a bunch of GOP electors, went after them, charged them with felonies, all about trying to keep that election system hidden. And whenever you take, you weaponize your position of power, and I don't care whether you're a local state, Attorney General, or you're the Attorney General of the United States, or you're the Department of Justice. They should have to pay consequences for that. When they falsely go after individuals, this isn't what the founders and framers wanted. These people were attacked, their reputations were maligned, and none of it was true. It was simply to cover up all the fraud in Michigan. But I blame our administration in D.C. because we talk about it so often that if you allow people to get away with this kind of behavior, government officials, it's kind of like our Secretary of State here, Jenna Griswold in Colorado. You allow somebody to get away with that kind of behavior where they misuse and abuse their power against regular individuals. And I don't care whether it's the feds, I don't care if it's the FBI or the DOJ, or if it's a local attorney general, or if it's this guy Nessel in Michigan. When they can just do it and there's no consequences, not to be crude, but why does a dog lick his balls? Because he can. The bottom line is we're empowering these people to get away with this bullshit, and we're not doing anything about it. If you're going to clean out the deep state, it takes a lot more than cleaning out the people that went after Donald Trump. I still feel like Mike Flynn and Roger Stone deserve to be made whole. We know that everything that was brought against them was nothing but lies and bullshit. They spent millions of dollars defending themselves. I haven't heard anything about that happening. And, and as much as I like presidential pardons for the effect it has on an individual, that they get to walk out of jail or their charges get dropped, the problem is you have to admit guilt to get a presidential pardon. And that's ridiculous. How about vacatur? Why aren't they getting dismissal with prejudice? Why aren't they getting the certificate of innocence? Why aren't they literally having their clock completely reset back? And why aren't the people that did it being arrested and charged? See, I think if you malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance by a government official, there are statutes on our book for this. But at the end of the day, we should go ahead and use the laws that are on the books like they're supposed to be used. And I blame the administration for not arresting people. And I think it goes the same at the state level. If these people weaponized in a federal election, I believe you can make the nexus. You can make the argument that will allow them to use the federal system to go after it. Why hasn't Nessel been arrested? Why isn't Jenna Griswold? We know what she did. We know that everything she did was just to cover up the election fraud in Colorado. Tina Peters identified it. I know Colorado's not important enough state for the elections because there aren't enough electoral votes here. They don't really look at it. But there's no doubt. You've heard Joe Altman talk about it. At the end of the day, this state is completely a bunch of crap. I didn't even realize Polis was gay till last night. I had no idea that he was married to a dude, and it makes a lot of sense to me that they stuck him in here. Another one of those. Oh, look at him. We're so accepting of everybody here in Colorado. Colorado used to not be like that. It's gotten worse and worse. But until we start to make these people face the consequences for what they're doing, they're going to continue to do it. They're never going to stop. And none of these people are being arrested, and they're not facing the real arm of justice. We can't even get an arrest against Letitia James. I guarantee you this, Mike, if you committed that mortgage fraud that Letitia James did, you'd already be sitting in jail. They wouldn't even waited 2 seconds.
And I wouldn't have a way to raise a legal defense fund like a lot of these people do. That's the other thing. When they go after folks, you talk about the January 6ers, they couldn't defend themselves. You know how much money that stuff, I know. I went through it with DOJ and a whole bunch of other nonsense this past year. Cost me a fortune in legal fees. But, you know, and there needs to be some kind of vicarious liability. I know they're immune from prosecution, but I think we need to change that. You know, there needs to be some kind of vicarious liability where if you commit something as a government agent, that you should be able to then sue the government because the government's liable. You hired that person to do that job. You are now an agent of the state. And it doesn't work like that, Lance. You know that. These people, these elected officials, these judges have all this immunity. They can do whatever they want, and they use it.
To me, is bullshit. Absolute immunity is garbage. I'm going to tell you something. Somebody that really understands this system, that it's weaponized in a way that even if you have prosecutorial misconduct, even if you have judicial misconduct, and you prove it, even if you take it to an appeals court, they will be like, well, did he really step beyond the bounds of his job? Did he, did they really commit deprivation of rights under color of law? We're going to remand. We're going to look at, no, we're not going to remand because procedurally you could have filed a habeas corpus. It's all fucking garbage.
You talked about it. You talked about it once on this show. You were talking about the barriers to entry to the legal system. And it's crazy, guys, as a law student and somebody, I'm studying for finals now at L1. So I'm only, 25% through, but my God, the barriers to entry, the different languages, the procedural hurdles that you have to jump through when you're filing cases, they make it so hard that a regular person has to go out and hire an attorney. That if you file something pro se, you'll get screw it up on the merits. You're going to get something dismissed with prejudice, as you were saying before, and you got no recourse now because you didn't know how to navigate the system. And there are a lot of people that play that, whether it's a judge or a police department, because they know if they commit a crime, if they do something that's just a little bit over the line, they know it's going to be more of a challenge on your part to have to go to court and try to seek, indemnification.
I would go, Mike, a step even further. It's not a little over the line. They're committing actual factual crimes. And a lot of people are finding it post-conviction. They're finding it in post-conviction analysis. They're committing intentional destruction. Look at the J6 committee. Look at what they did to them. They destroyed exculpatory evidence. They didn't provide it. They wouldn't give them the videos. They wouldn't give people the tools to defend themselves. And then, like you just said a minute ago, the barrier for entry, MIT did a study, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago now, and they said that the legalese is intentionally overcomplicated so that the average person cannot navigate the system. And that's my argument.
I don't even think most of these lawyers can navigate the freaking system. They're such idiots. Come on.
It's a valid point. I mean, a public pretender, these cookie cutter motions they file and the way that the system is. I mean, listen, go ask AI. You don't have to listen to me. Go ask AI, should the federal government have a 98% conviction rate? It will tell you that that's mathematically impossible.
Right.
That their rate should be more like high 70s, low 80s, best case scenario. And that's assuming that the Department of Justice is the one government department that gets it right every single time.
Mike,
among all the agencies that screw the pooch on everything they're touching, that somehow the Department of Justice is the shining beacon of government perfection.
Bullshit.
Mike, what specialty law you're going for?
I'm not. You don't get a. You don't go for a specialty. You go to law school. There's 17 subjects in law school. Then when you're done, you pass the bar. You can decide if you want to go into a specialty and practice. I don't ever want to practice. That's not my.
No,
that wasn't my goal in getting a degree. So, I mean, this year, we take when you start, you do the basics. It's introduction to law. It's contracts, torts, and criminal law. That's what I'm doing this year. And then next year, you get into real property and remedies and all that other crap. So right now, but you believe it or not, when you think about torts, contracts, and criminal law, though, that's the basis of most law. Like, you have to understand criminal law, you have to understand contract, you have to understand the procedure and how it works. You know, when you get into like civil procedure, criminal procedure, those are all cases down the road because you have to learn how to apply that. But when you see the law and you see the barriers to entry and you understand the language is so tough, Lance, you hit the nail on the head. It's amazing. And when I talk to lawyers, that's why most people, you don't find these general practitioners anymore. You find people that are kind of wimps in law. I hate to say that, but most lawyers are like, oh, I do real estate. Oh, I do family law. You know, they're not like a general practitioner where they kind of look. They will specialize in a certain area because it's the only way to make money. And it's the only way to freaking not have to, you know, avoid all the minutia that comes along with the law itself. There are so many nuances. And one of my professors says, you know, law school is not law school, it's exception school. You realize there's a lot of laws. You realize then there's a lot of exceptions to those laws, and those loopholes are what people look for. And most people realize that it's so complicated. Even the prosecutors, even the police, most people aren't going to get prosecuted when they do step over the line or egregiously go over it, as you put it, Lance. They know they're not going to get prosecuted. They're overburdened right now with so much crap. I've got stuff that I just talked to the prosecutor's office locally here about a couple things, and they've got so much crap. Like, oh, we got bigger fish to fry. We got murderers, this, that, the other. That most people do not get prosecuted if it's not a murder or something, you know, egregious. When you talk about this white collar stuff, this government stuff, they could care less about that.
Yeah, and my claim would be that even when they get caught doing something that is egregious, because anytime somebody gets the system weaponized against them and they get federal time or state time and they don't necessarily deserve what happened to them, I think that's the difficulty, right? They never get any relief because, of course, like you said, they hide behind qualified immunity and absolute immunity. And they do these things, and because they get away with it, they just keep doing it. And because the number one, at least in the federal system, the number one goal isn't justice, it's a conviction. It's a conviction
rate. They don't care about right or wrong. They care about their prosecution. They care about their conviction rate, and that needs to change. You know what tracks are, right, Lance? When you get tracked. So it's funny. I was working on a med mal case, and it got track 3, which is a 450-day discovery period. So before you go through all the the filings, then you got to service, then you got to have answer. Then once you finally get to that point, you're looking at 2 years. I look at a case like that and go, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive in 2 years, but I have to wait to 2 years before the case even sees a courtroom. So it's the system is set up so overburdened for people, and like you said, the barriers to entry. And people don't realize you don't just get. We want to wave a magic wand. That's the Google instant gratification society we live in. That's what my chat wants to do with Donald Trump and the presidency. You see a problem, you know that there's an issue, and you want to fix it. You want to wave a magic wand and fix it, but the system isn't set up like that. The system is slow for a reason, but sometimes a little too slow for people to actually make it through what they need to, to rectify.
Yeah, but I also think it's intentionally slow when they don't want to touch the topic. I think when they get caught, and it's obvious they got caught, for example, Securus Technologies, the eavesdropping on attorney-client phone calls all across the nation since 2006. There's thousands of cases that have been impacted. They've been caught. They've been into federal court on this, and they're still doing business with Securus Technologies. The federal government is still contracted with Securus Technologies all across the nation to provide services for phone calls in prisons, on pretrial detainment, for contracted facilities, on true federal facilities. But they just keep doing business with them, even though they know that they've been eavesdropping on phone calls, even though they know that prosecutors and federal agents all around the country eavesdropped on many defendants' legal phone calls, pre and post conviction. My thing is, that's the end of the day. That's what it is. But let's move on here. I could go on this forever. I'd love to engage some of your professors. I would hammer them for some of the stuff that they're teaching in those classes because it's total bullshit. All right. Heartbreaking. Now, this is what I mean about accountability. Illegal with 30 arrests, kills an innocent mom, Stephanie Minter. And of course, the Virginia Democrats kept releasing them. My opinion is if a judge makes a determination after somebody's been arrested 30 times to release them and this happens, I think they should go to jail. I'm going to contend that these judges that believe that their political bias is a reasonable solution inside of courtrooms, I think they should face consequences for their actions. Because let's face it, if you didn't fix a car, let's say you were a mechanic, Mike or George, and you didn't put the wheel all the way on intentionally, you knew that you a couple of the lug nuts, you just said, I don't have time, I'm going to lunch. And that person drove that vehicle and died, you would be sued immediately. I want to know why it isn't the same way. George, you tell me, why aren't these people doing their job? And their job is to protect the people. 30 arrests would mean you probably have a career criminal in front of you.
Hold on. The Democrats are protecting. They're protecting the pedophiles, the criminals. They're protecting them.
Yeah.
They're people too, aren't they? That's who they're protecting. Listen, these freaking Democrats, now these Democrat states in Virginia, you vote for them, this is what you get. And then they want something. We always say, and I always say this, I said, what does it need to happen for something bad to happen to one of these politicians' kids or very close family member? God forbid. I don't want to see that happen until they change their tune. I mean, think about it.
I think if you
what
want to
happens if
release
this
a guy with
illegal?
30 arrests,
Hold on, this is illegal with 30 arrests from Virginia. He killed an innocent mom. What if he killed an innocent Democratic lawmaker from Virginia? Would they change their tune then? Is that what needs to be done? I should hope not. But this is, it's the same freaking tune in all these states.
What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think so. The counter to that, the other side of that argument is, let's say you told a judge, you're going to hold the judge accountable. What's that?
I object.
But let's say you can object all you want, George. On what basis? What you can? Well, let's say you held a judge accountable if somebody went out and recommitted the crime. Now every judge is going to put everybody away for life because they don't want to go to jail. If they don't know what kind of liability they have if you go out on the on the road and do something and kill somebody, whether it's on purpose or accident.
Think in a common sense perspective. You're the judge. You're sitting on the bench, and you have a guy in front of you. Now this is his 30th arrest. You have a guy in front of you that committed 29 crimes. He's already been arrested 29 times, and now he's in for his 30th. Do you think that the best decision is to put him back on the street?
Yeah, of course Of course I'd want to lock him up, but that's why you got certain states that do mandatory minimums. Then you get into the problem with, certain things, whether they're violent or non-violent. Who Bernie Kerik is, right? Bernie Kerik, former New York City police commissioner on 9/11. He passed away recently. Bernie was a friend of mine, and he came to one of my dinners one night. We honored him. I got a lot of pushback for that too. This is a conservative guy, was a friend of Trump's, Giuliani's, and he was talking about bail reform. He went to jail. This is a guy who was nominated for Homeland Security Director under George W. Bush. He tells a story great about how Andy Card called him and said, "Hey, you're going to get vetted like you've never been vetted before," and they found a couple little things, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, Bernie Kerik is jammed up. One for, I think he had a contractor do work on his apartment in the Bronx, and he didn't pay him, and all of a sudden it looked like there was a quid pro quo because the guy got the city work. There was some bullshit stuff. Bernie got jammed up and went to jail for, I think he got 4 years in prison. He did 3 years and 12 days or whatever it was. It's in a great book that he wrote called From Jailer to Jailed. He used to be the corrections commissioner at Rikers Island before he became police commissioner, and then started working with the Bush and then Trump administrations. So the guy goes to jail and starts learning a lot of crap. There's people in jail. There's another side to this, Lance, and that's kind of where I was going with it. There was a guy in jail, he was telling me, for he sold a whale's tooth. Didn't realize, he found this thing, he thought it was cool, he sold it, didn't realize there was a federal law against doing it. Now the guy's in federal prison for selling this fucking whale's tooth. Yeah. But
why can't you sell it though? It's a fucking whale tooth. It's roaming free in the ocean.
Because it's restricted now, just like ivory is, because whale teeth are considered ivory. It's on a restricted ban list. I actually have a whale's tooth somewhere that my parents gave me years and years and years
ago. Sell it, Lance.
Now.
Yeah, Mike, let Mike finish. I interrupted him.
I can tell you that.
But you get the point.
That's the point, though. Think about the possibility. Now, what I think is really terrible about that is that the guy didn't have the mens rea. It wasn't like he knew he was selling a restricted item. The mens rea is supposed to what connects you to the crime, but overzealous prosecutors looking for a conviction. Was it a federal crime the guy had been convicted for, Mike?
I believe so. He was in federal prison with Bernie. So yeah, the mens rea is criminal mind, and actus reus is the criminal act. But you're right. You need to usually put the two together. But a lot of people say, like ignorance of the law is no defense. So even though there's a law in the book, the guy did it. They're going to say it doesn't matter. So that you have so many people in jail for doing nothing. Because the justice system is so fucked up. And then you have people like this, you say arrested 30 times and isn't going to jail because you have an idiot judge. But I mean, the system is so lopsided. That's what Bernie was advocating for. It's a great book, From Jailer to Jail, if you want to read it. I read it cover to cover before the guy came to my event just to do him some due diligence and make sure I knew what we were talking about when he was on my set. But great guy, passed away. He was a great wealth of knowledge. But when you see some of these folks, I had a guy that went to jail in New Jersey, ran for U.S. Senate. And everybody always, politicians always get arrested. I had a guy, and I go back to this guy's name was Jim Treffinger. George might know him. He was the Essex County executive. Trish Christie didn't like him. I was working on his Senate campaign. I was down in D.C., and I got called one day by the deputy chief of staff, said, you got to get back to New Jersey right away. Jim's office was just raided by the FBI and his home. So I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. So I get back to Jersey, and I find out Chris Christie, as a U.S. attorney, wanted to weaponize his position to go after this guy. And when you put somebody through the minutia of the justice system, you see it on both sides.
Okay.
You watched it with Trump.
I got to add something to this story.
Yeah.
Because I just looked it up. I forgot to, I guess I didn't see this. Okay. This lady's accused killer. His name is, get this, Abdul Jala. And he's in the country illegally. There you go.
So see, when does negligence or incompetence cross the line? And when is a combination? Why is this judge still sitting on the bench? Wouldn't you think that right away he should? And again, that's the whole thing about this lifetime appointment bullshit that I don't buy into. And I want to make it clear. There are some good prosecutors. There are some good judges. There are people that are doing their job.
Yeah, but
there's many that are not.
That's the point I was trying to make, is if on both sides, Lance, it's politics creeps into everything. It's political, whether it's your affiliation or your, how you want to, you're either weaponizing it on one side or you're so liberal on the other side that logic goes out the window. Too much of politics has creeped into our judicial process. And that is
the appointment of judges. Why isn't there an oversight committee that has no political bias? And I know that would be damn near impossible. Instead of like, oh, this is an Obama appointed judge. This is a Bush appointed judge. This is a Trump appointed. That whole appointment thing, I don't know that I think that's, how is that a separation of powers?
Well, look, how many times have I said it? I've said it on this show. Most judges are failed attorneys, and there's an old saying, and I say it all the time, if you stick around long enough, you'll eventually get the job you want. That's in politics, and it goes for judges too. These are folks who, worked in the party system. They hung around, they donated, they went to all the events, they got to, they went on the network scenes.
Well, you know what we need to do? We should go to the states where we can become magistrate judges, because a lot of them, you don't need to even be a lawyer. You don't even need to pass the bar. Do you know that?
Yeah, that's nice.
Can we do that?
Let's play the clip. Let's play this.
I mean, you should know a little bit about the law, I would think.
Fuck it, why? You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be past the bar. But you could be a magistrate judge in a lot of states. Magistrate, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Why not? They're doing it anyway. You want to join the bandwagon?
Well, shit, we might as well be senators. You can go in there with, let's lower our
client comes in, if I have somebody,
is there a way medically to lower our IQs to like 60 or less?
I'll just be like, if the defendant comes in front of my court for whatever it is, I'm gonna look him up or her up. If it's a liberal, they're guilty automatic. That's it. Fuck it.
I like
the latest on this very sad story. Hi, Mike.
Dana, good morning. Yeah, the mother of this crime victim is clearly furious and calling for action. Stephanie Minter was stabbed to death at a bus stop in Fairfax County, Virginia last month. The suspect in this vicious attack is an illegal immigrant repeat offender. Abdul Jallo had 30 prior arrests. Homeland Security says Jallo has been charged over the years with rape, malicious wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, trespassing, larceny, firing a weapon, and more. Jallo is 32 years old and has been charged with second-degree murder for Minter's death. He reportedly arrived in the U.S. illegally in 2012 from Sierra Leone. Stephanie Minter was known for her bright smile, someone who loved people, always with a smile on her face. Her mom is furious with Fairfax County prosecutor Steve Descano.
Do your job. Do what you said in your vision on your webpage. Get your act together. I don't know, you know, he needs to do something. He needs to help protect the people and get these people off the street any way he can.
Fairfax County Police Major Jeffrey Morrow wrote an email on November 15th to Fairfax County prosecutors warning about Jalloh, quote, I want to share my concern that it is not a question of if, but rather when he will maliciously wound or worse again. All
right, I'm going to say this because I'm going to say what a lot of people are afraid to say. If that guy was a white guy here illegally, and if it was his first arrest, you bet your sweet ass he'd been booted out of the country. But they just keep letting him stay here.
I mean,
illegal. He was here illegally. He got caught. His first crime. He should have been thrown out of the country. But why? They didn't. And he's been, what, since 2012 it's been going on?
I mean, how about that rap sheet? You guys like all the crimes that were listed on there? It sounds like the kind of guy. I don't know why the judge didn't just move him into his own home. Seems like he loved him enough to let him off. And see, that's my thing. When does intentional deceit, when does it move from negligence or incompetence? And why would, I'm not saying this guy was in front of the same judge over and over again, but what kind of idiots? These are the kind of judges, in my opinion, that I think they should be fired immediately. And that's the difficulty with this lifetime appointment crap and absolute immunity. Personally, I think they're liable. I think in any other case, if we'd made that decision and it was a regular citizen's decision to allow a person like this to work for us and commit violence, you know they'd come after us civilly. The system is broken, and these judges and prosecutors and AGs need to pay the consequences of the long arm of justice. I think there has to be accountability. I know it's a terrible system because you're saying, well, now a judge would just put everybody in jail. I don't know how we fix this if these judges don't pay the price for this kind of behavior, where they're basically making it unsafe on our streets for the decisions they're making. And I know that's not the ideal statement to make, and I understand why it's a double-edged sword, but man, I got to tell you, the judge that saw him last, shame on you. You ought to fucking resign, you piece of shit. And I'll say that to you. I don't know who you are. You should fucking resign.
You can put handcuffs on the judge by legislating and by putting laws on the books that make sure that if they have stuff like what you just saw.
But you can't get there to legislate because the voting system is rigged, Mike.
I know. I get it, George. If that was
my daughter, I would end up with jail time. That judge would get
anyway,
beaten
Lance,
into
hold
an
on.
inch of his life.
So
by
that
me.
family,
I would catch him on the street, and I would beat the crap out of him, and I would go to jail for it. But at least I'd feel like I got my pound of flesh. I would beat him senseless.
So that family,
consequences.
Slow your roll. So that family, if I was that family, I would find the best lawyers I can get, and I would sue the state of Virginia. I would sue the U.S. federal government and every agency that was involved in letting this man go. Including the court systems, everything. I would just throw.
But the problem is the system is so broken, and it's so protectionist. Doesn't matter whether you go to an
broken or not, but when you
really understand it, it's an awful, terrible, terrible system. That when there are real victims like this mother and this woman and her daughter that got killed, the system will do everything they can to not allow accountability to come down because they don't want precedents. It's all about stopping precedents, and at the end of the day, it's not about justice. I would go on the limb. Let's talk about this Iranian KC-747 tanker, George. This is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it is because Israel bombed this big tanker. This is at Tehran's airport over there. I mean, I know America told us don't stop bombing any of their oil facilities or anything because it's just when you get all that oil in the air and all that black rain, it's just not good for anybody. But I mean, I just want to show the video because I think the video is cool though. I don't know if you've seen it, Mike. Did you see it?
I don't know which one you're going to play.
Oh, we're going to play it. It's like yesterday we were talking, like Iranians' oil exports, they're moving more oil since the war started than before the war. How does that happen? I mean, we can try to figure out the answer to that question. You know the answer? Mike?
No, I don't. Crude oil right now, $95 a barrel. I just looked it up. It went up to 120 the other day, then down to 85. But to put it in context, about a month ago, we were about $65 a barrel. So you got to pay a little bit more at the pump right now in short term. But I had Scott Besson on. I had a couple other folks this morning on saying that they were going to protect the folks in the Strait of Hormuz and start escorting these tankers through. So because the oil's out there, it's just the flow and getting it to the market. That's what somebody at the White House said that I played this morning. So it's not an oil shortage; it's just getting it to the market. But if somebody on the show, either in my chat or another show I was doing, says, "Why aren't we drilling more here?" That was our mantra, right? Drill, baby, drill. We were oil independent in the first term. Where are we now, considering that we're still relying on everybody else from across the world?
I don't think we're any better off. And if you talk about what could potentially happen here, here's what I'm wondering. Why is the U.S. reluctant to escort these tankers? They're in a standstill. I don't understand why they're not escorting them.
I thought they were.
Through the strait. Nope, they're not.
They said it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, soon. Well, and I always wonder about that. What's the real reasoning? And of course, the island that does the production from Iran, George and I were talking about this on the show yesterday. Why don't they just take control of that island? Because here's my thing. It's kind of like right now, we know there's lots of Bitcoin mining operations in Iran. Why aren't they bombing those operations? Because they're mining Bitcoin at 1,300 and some odd change per Bitcoin. It's a windfall for them. They're using state-controlled power. They'll steal it from hospitals wherever they need the leadership, the Revolutionary Guard. They're getting access to this Bitcoin rapidly. I don't understand why we're not bombing those locations. I haven't heard anything about bombing Bitcoin locations or mining locations. I'm sure they know where the power is being pulled from. I'd be surprised if Israeli intelligence didn't know that. But it's the same thing about the oil. Why are they allowing them to continue to run?
Hold on, about the oil. So I looked it up. So the U.S. is producing a record amount of crude oil, averaging over 13.4 to 13.6 million barrels per day. That's right now. So what I don't get is, why don't use that oil, refine it here, and give us cheaper gas?
Well, they're going to release the 172 million barrels out of the petroleum reserve, which when I first heard that on its face, I didn't agree with because I didn't like when Biden did it. But then Trump came out and said, we're going to replace it. We're going to put 200 billion barrels of oil in place of that 172. So it's all right. Well, if you got a plan, that was the thing. You went into Venezuela and they got 80 million barrels of oil out of Venezuela. I would suspect that we're going to try to get the oil out of Iran because he was pretty pissed off when he said it about Bush that we never took the oil out of Iraq. So I would suspect that we're going to try to get it here. So I don't know. You might see prices come, way down after this is all over, but who knows?
Yeah, but
the question is, how long is it going to take?
So they have, Iran has, what's it called? Crag Island or some shit. It's their cash cow. Why don't we just take the island?
I agree, George. You're absolutely right. I wondered that myself. We know where it is. It's not heavily defended. We can go there and just take it over in a heartbeat, and then
it's not like they have any Navy or Air Force left. They got nobody.
Cuts them right off. It's kind of amazing. I don't know what the answer to that is. I would think that I would hope with this very smart administration that's in the plans. But look, I'm so tired of hearing this. It's all mostly speculative. The product is still here. So the market makers are the ones driving up the price now, all on this speculation. As far as, having gas shortages at home, no, it's not here yet. And you asked how long, Lance? I can't see this going on because midterms are coming up in less than 8 months.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, the only way those midterms don't go, and the only way we don't literally just get wiped out is if they don't just start arresting a crap load of people. It's the only way we win the midterms at this point. They're not going to fix the election system at this point. I don't think the SAVE Act is going to pass. Thune, I don't think he wants the SAVE Act to pass. He came out and said, oh, yeah, we're going to vote on it next week, but no, we don't have enough votes. So,
well, they don't. They don't have 60 votes. We know that. I know. So why waste the freaking time?
None of them want to pass it. They don't want to pass anything that has to do with election integrity because how do they win if they can't cheat? Cheating is so ingrained in the system. It's the only way. I want to cover one more story here, George. I want to jump to 8 just because I think it's important. So
if you give me 1 second, Lance, before you do that, give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Here's Iranian's Air Force. I got another one. Ready?
Yeah.
Buster's coming! Oh!
Nice. I like the quality. That was a leaked video. George got that from one of his.
That's highly classified. I cannot reveal my source. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to do?
We covered the sleeper cells activated the other day on the show, and I thought this was important because I actually got an email about it. You were asking about some details on this. So so if you guys know what a number station is, it was a Cold War era method where they would send encrypted instructions to intelligence agents in the field. So anyone could hear the broadcast, but without the one-time pad used to decode it, that message would be mathematically impossible to crack. So it looks like somewhere inside Iran there was a sleeper agent, calmly writing down numbers while of course, the world was already getting ready to burn. I want to play this clip, and I just want to say that this kind of validates what happened. So that's why I was talking about situational awareness. For the audience, Mike, for your audience, for our audience, pay attention. I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that this is going to happen. We're going to have some attacks here inside the U.S. for a number of reasons. I was talking to Michael Yan yesterday as an example by text message. We were going back and forth, and this is going to happen. So let's play this clip, and you'll understand what they did. You'll even hear the signal that was emitted, that intelligence operations. This is what triggered the U.S. government to say sleeper cells. This is why they recognized what this was, and it went from there.
Listen to this. On the first day of the U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran, something strange appeared on the airwaves. A mysterious shortwave radio broadcast, a man's voice calmly reading random number sequences in Persian. Radio enthusiasts first picked it up on February 28th, the first day of the war. The broadcast follows a loose pattern, a string of numbers read aloud for 2 rounds, then a pause, then the Persian word for attention repeated 3 times, then the numbers start again. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. No one knows exactly where the signal is coming from, but radio enthusiasts have narrowed it down to somewhere in Western Europe. 5 days into the war, things got even stranger. Someone started jamming the signal. Electronic noise suddenly flooded the frequency, making the numbers nearly impossible to hear. But the broadcast didn't stop, it just moved to a different frequency. RFERL independently recorded the transmission on March 10th, meaning it has been broadcasting around 2 weeks, more or less daily. So what is it? The most common explanation is something called a number station, an old-school Cold War spy tool, a shortwave radio broadcast used to send encrypted messages to intelligence agents around the world. Anyone can listen to the numbers, but without the decoder, the message is essentially impossible to understand. Aiken Fernandez, who's considered a guru on the subject of number stations, says it's absolutely unbreakable. The number keys are perfectly random, and figuring it out mathematically wouldn't really work either. And even if you translate them into words, the message would likely still make no sense without the right decoder key. Okay, that's the first thing. What about the jamming? Who's jamming the signal and why? So the kind of interference being used here is called a bubble jammer. Basically, it drowns out the signal so the transmission is impossible to understand. Historically, this kind of jamming was used by governments trying to block foreign broadcasts. During the Cold War, Soviet bloc countries regularly jammed broadcasts from the BBC, Deutsche Welle, or Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, which were beaming uncensored news and information into the Eastern Bloc. These days, the Persian language broadcasts, the BBC, and Radio Free Europe's Radio Farda are also being jammed by the Iranian government on a similar frequency. So if Tehran was responsible for this mysterious Persian number signal, it's pretty unlikely that Tehran will be jamming its own signal. That brings us back to the original question: who's behind the number station broadcast? Could it be the United States sending coded messages to agents inside Iran? Or maybe it's Israel? Or how about Turkey, which is no fan of the Iranian government? Then it gets even muddier. ABC News reports that the US government had sent an alert to law enforcement agencies about an intercepted encrypted transmission. The transmission could, quote, be intended to activate or provide instructions to pre-position sleeper assets operating outside the originating country. ABC quoted the alert as saying. The CIA did not respond to requests for comment. So for now, the signal remains a mystery. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.
What do you think, Mike?
It's pretty neat. I'll tell you that much. That's Kelly's biggest concern is sleeper cells right now, because everybody and their mother, who's kind of in the middle, who doesn't watch shows, who's just kind of getting the headlines, sees what's going on, and right now we got this big thing going on in Iran. Wondering if it's connected somewhere. So I'm curious as to what you think. This is your wheelhouse, Lance. You think that this is sleeper cells getting messages to show up, and is it we're gonna see that more right here on our soil?
Based on the reaction that the U.S. put out that memo to law enforcement across the nation, absolutely.
No, to California about the drones.
I'm sorry.
That was to California about the Iranian drones?
No.
Oh.
And if you listen to that messaging there, George, he actually mentioned that they put out this statement to law enforcement about the potential of sleeper cells. So number one, the reaction from the government validates that they're concerned about the signal. I believe this signal is what triggered that memo. Yes, there's no doubt that if you're going to activate, if you're going to put people in country, if you're going to figure out ways to communicate that go beyond any kind of standard communication, and you're going to have backup communication. Everybody knows that cellular communication is not a safe conduit. So if you're not going to do something manually like drop boxes, if you don't have somebody that can disseminate the messages, and of course, if you've got sleepers inside the United States, drops aren't going to work. So going old school sometimes is a solution. So I would say, number one, the message is probably been authenticated by the U.S. that it's originating, and they're concerned about the content. They haven't figured it out because, of course, without the pad, you can't have that, right? You have to have the code on one end. You have to have the sheet to actually translate what numbers, and if they're using random, if each time the numbers move, you'd have additional pads, right? You have sheets. So in this case, yeah, I think it's a major concern. We already know that our borders were invaded by lots of people that shouldn't be here. And we know it for a fact. Law enforcement knows it. There were times, for example, there was a bunch of, there was some interception of IEDs at the border that looked like something that would be created by somebody that had knowledge in the Middle East. They caught him. It didn't really go public. George and I covered on the show about 8, 9, 10 months ago that they caught these IEDs that had already been built coming into the country. So they didn't really want that to go public because, of course, it would have, and maybe it was longer. It might have been a year and a half ago, Mike, that we covered that story now that I'm thinking about it. It was during the Biden administration. So I would say absolutely this is a major concern. Absolutely, it's probably triggering an activation of agents. At what level are they triggering? Are they telling them to prepare? Or are they telling them to go independent? Because, of course, a lot of times if you have in-ground assets, you will tell them this will be the last message you will ever receive. And they make them autonomous. So are we going to see that? I would say the answer is yes, because that is how you can create opposition to the war. Iran doesn't want to continue on. I'm sure they know there's an end game here that eventually they're going to run out of their missiles and their weapons. They're going against some superpowers that, are moving pretty rapidly. I don't think anybody wants to be on the other side of the U.S. Probably why Cuba is trying to negotiate right now. Supposedly they're in dialogue with the administration. They don't want to be on the other side of this because they know they don't have the infrastructure or the support to stay in the game. So yeah, I think the American public should be very concerned, and I think this is legitimate. I think there's a number of reasons. I've heard it from a couple of people that I won't mention that I've actually that had this dialogue that believe that in fact 100% they're here in country right now. Well, so I think we're going to see that. What is it going to be linked to? I know this. I told you guys this. I think I told you this, Mike, but I told somebody else this. The celebration, the U.S. celebration, if this war is still going on for our 250 years, I would tell you that going to watch UFC at the White House, I wouldn't do it. Even if I had front row tickets, I wouldn't go.
I hope Kelly's not listening because my stepson is going to be in DC all summer. So, and that's what he did last year. He'll be there again, so he does this. He works up on the hill there and he'll be at a lot of these things.
But he's safe over there.
Well, it's been pretty, Joe, I got to tell you, I mean, we were there 6-7 times last year when Jaden was there, and I saw it in firsthand because they brought in the National Guard, the FBI, the DEA after Jaden had started. And man, it was like night and day. We were out riding, Jaden likes to ride the scooters around town, which is kind of cool. And they're called, I guess it's a company called Lime. You rent them there. And we were out at 10:30 at night, like before he left, when all the presence was there. And man, you could wave a wad of cash. George, you could wear all your Rolexes out and flash them around, your gold chains, you know, from back in the day when you were in Seaside Heights, and nobody would bother you.
Yeah. And, I think that all matters, but you're talking about regular criminals. If you're talking about sophisticated, trained individuals, it becomes much more difficult to identify them. Sure, if they're walking around with a turban and a beard, I'm sure they're going to bring some attention. But if they're walking around, and let's face it, we don't know what these individuals, who they are, what they look like. I know Donald Trump made a statement that they know who they are and they're watching them.
Yeah,
well, why would you be watching them?
You'd be getting them
You
off the
wouldn't
street.
be watching them. You'd be snatching their asses up. So that was a foolish public statement that I don't agree with. And I think look, you're going to have to be concerned if you go to a concert, if you're going to a big an event where there's going to be a lot of people congregated together. And I can tell you this: the typical pattern for terrorist attacks is they'll set up a small device, and then they'll wait for the crowd to gather. They'll wait for EMT and other people to gather, and they'll set up a larger device. That's a standard operating procedure. So I can tell you this: if you hear anything going off, do not move towards it. I mean, hopefully you'll make the right decision.
It's fun. It's funny you say that,
out of
Lance.
there as rapidly as you can, because usually there'll be a second device, much larger, much more devastating. That's been going on in the Middle East for decades. I mean, that's what we faced when we were overseas.
Well, and you have the same training I do. So we try to train our people to get off the X, and their instinct is to go toward it, but you want to get away from it. I told Kelly that when she first met me. I said, if the bomb ever goes off when we're at a Yankee game and you see people going that way, I said, turn around, you'll see me behind you going this way. You don't want to be stampeded by the crowd. And that's the thing. When I was working as a cop, we used to have Seaside Heights was always considered a hard target because there were so many people. Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, there's hundreds of thousands of people. So when we had a bomb threat or something under the pier, we would all have to turn our radios off because we don't want to set anything off like that. Now everybody's got a freaking cell phone, so there's radio signals everywhere. But you gotta have your head on a swivel and watch everybody else's six, and watch your own back all the time too, because nobody else is looking out for you. But that is the thing, Lance. I tell that to everybody. I tell that to Jaden too. I said, if you see something happening in DC, you want to get off of the X, not put yourself on it.
Right. Yeah, you got to move away as quickly as possible. So, okay, well, listen, we're out of time for today. Appreciate you guys staying as long as you did. First, Mike, love having you here. Great doing these Fridays off and on. We'll probably be doing more of this stuff. Appreciate all the input as always. Listen, if you guys like the show, you know what to do. Take the short form, take the long form. Take the content, use it any way you want. We want you to disseminate. Tell people, hey, this is a real true show. Join us. If you can hit the follow button, great. If you can do the paid subscription, even better for us. And anything you can do, Rumble Rant tips, always appreciated. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. And we're going to catch you on Monday. You can catch the radio show over the weekend, the Big Wing Talk radio show. But of course, we're going to see you on Monday right here back in the saddle, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. George, what's the last words for the audience?
Mike, it's always a pleasure and an honor having you on. We'll see you in 2 weeks, Mike.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you
It's
so
going to be
much.
every 2-week deal. All right, y'all have a blessed weekend. Stay safe, stay vigilant out there, and just spend it with your families. Love you guys. Peace.
I might have to let it drop. Said, gotta do it, hella big, had to run it back again, get like said, had to do it, hella big, had to run it.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever. Visit CSPOA.org and join the Sheriff's Citizens Posse today. Make a difference. Stand for freedom. That's CSPOA.org. Your country, your fight, your future.
What if you could predict your financial future? And what if you could trade on it? Introducing Block Trust IRA. The future in your hands. An astonishing 88,000 millionaires were created last year from the Bitcoin boom, and you could be next. Block Trust IRA is the only crypto management firm powered by AI-driven strategies, ranked #1 in the world by Bitcoin Magazine. The Block Trust IRA platform is built for everyone, from first-time buyers to seasoned investors. Predictive AI technology that was once only reserved for insiders and elites is now available to you. It's time to leave the old buy and hold strategies behind. Your assets are protected with military-grade security, offline cold storage, and $200 million in insurance. Visit BlockTrustIRA.com to book your free consultation and ask how to claim up to $2,500 in deposit bonuses today. Bitcoin changed the game. AI changes the strategy.
Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation.
Forged through rigorous training and honed by the finest instructors on Earth, these canine units serve beside our nation's warriors as they fight to preserve what we cherish. When these warriors complete their duty, the Warrior Dog Foundation provides them with a home deserving of the service they've given us all. At our state-of-the-art kennels, they receive rehabilitation and care suitable for heroes, because that's what they are. Be a part of giving them a future today. Visit WarriorDogFoundation.org.